Today on Independent Wrestling Profiles, we're talking with Sugar Shane Pinto. Let's start at the very beginning, and I'm assuming that almost everybody that I talked to started at one point as a fan.
Absolutely.
What is your earliest memory of discovering professional wrestling?
This is one of my favorite questions because what happens is that it incorporates my passion and my family, two things that I care about very profoundly. The earliest memory that I have in general was Kane taking off his mask. So the year 2003. I remember being downstairs in my grandparents' basement, which hasn't changed since 2003. And it was Kane in the middle of the ring, RVD sitting down looking up, and the big reveal is about to happen. I remember sitting on the floor. My father was sitting on the couch. I can't remember if my grandparents were there. That's besides the point. But I remember him taking off the mask, and that was the first time I think I was ever scared before. Like to that point, like I think the fact that I was scared and fear being the emotional response to that moment, that's why it's so embedded in my brain. But that's my earliest memory as a human being, not just in wrestling.
Oh, wow. Okay. I can't imagine it was the trauma of the actual visual because now the success of that segment is neither here nor there. But
That's a different story.
it's an element of the storytelling that really captures you. Was it from that moment on that you were a wrestling fan? Do you even have memories of a time where you weren't tuning in?
I've always been tuning in. Now, there was a bit of a lull period in the late 2000s, if you will, that 2008 to 2011 era, where pre-pipe bomb, if you will, that I was watching, but was I gung ho? Mind you, I was also a child, but was I gung ho on making sure that I made a case to stay up past my bedtime to watch Raw? No, I made sure to watch up until 9, 10 o'clock when you're that age. So I've always been a fan. There's never been a time, excuse me, where I don't recollect being a fan. It's really just been in my life ever since I could remember.
Okay, and during this period of time, you're going through this journey of fandom. Is there particular performers or matches that really stood out to you that were maybe kind of really just important to the development of your interest in the industry?
I like to break that question down in sections. So, being a kid, I would say 8 years old, Batista was huge for me. WrestleMania 21, I'd like to think to this day is still my favorite WrestleMania based on nostalgic purposes. That
Okay.
was my WrestleMania, if you will. Batista being having a very common Portuguese last name, I thought was Portuguese, and I'm Portuguese. I'm half Portuguese, half Italian. So I thought, wow, this is someone who's representing my people on a big stage. He's jacked. He's the world champion. This is great. Later to find out he's Filipino and Greek, but that's besides the point. Um, so I definitely looked at Batista a lot as a big hero of mine. The same event, we saw John Cena win his first world championship, the WWE championship against John Cena. So, being a kid of the mid 2000s, I had two heroes to look at. I had Batista, I had John Cena, both on different shows, Raw and SmackDown, respectively. As my fandom and my passion grew for the business, that's when I started going back in history. Kane and The Undertaker's story from 97, that whole he's alive, Undertaker, your brother Kane is alive promo from Paul Bearer, gives me chills to this day, was something that I remember going on the computer. This is the family computer at like 6 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. And I remember playing that promo live, and it woke up everyone in the house because I thought my headphones were plugged in. They were just on my head, they weren't plugged in. So, I remember my mom walking out and she's like, "What the hell are you watching?" And I'm like, "Oh, you could hear that?" She's like, "The whole house could hear it. What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm learning about Kane and the Undertaker." And she's like, "Oh boy, I think this one's gonna be a fan of this thing for a long time." And then fast forward into my teenage years, my formative years, if you will, finding Bray Wyatt, really helped mold the person that I am today, my outlook on life as a whole, I would say. 14, 15, 16 years old, seeing someone that looked different, talk different, and take inspiration from so many different elements of life, literature, movies, music. Uh, I thought that was indicative of I guess my progression and growth at that time.
So I just want to kind of build on that question, and I'm glad you brought up Bray Wyatt, and it's okay if that's the answer as well. But you have a particular style, and I want to say this very complimentary on the mic when you cut your promos with passion, even just facial expressions and storytelling when you're in the ring, from what I've seen. Who are some of the people that really drove you when it comes to promos? Like you mentioned the Paul Bearer promo. And I have to imagine that that was a big element for you because your storytelling is top tier.
Thank you. First and foremost, that's an honor. I get chills, chills all over my body. That in fact you said that. Bray Wyatt really helped me navigate how, like I said, my outlook on life, my approach to wrestling promos as a whole. I would also say Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes had this innate ability of reaching out to the audience, grabbing their attention, and immediately hooking them and making them emotionally invested. So Dusty Rhodes, Bray Wyatt for sure. And look, I wouldn't be where I am today without Paul Heyman. The way that he speaks as if, and it's not as if, I'll change my wording there because I want to make sure I'm putting respect on that man's name. That man embraces who he is inside the ring and outside the ring. Part of the reason why I chose my real name being Shane Pinto is because Paul Heyman did the same. What I believe we were trying to do, and what I believe that Bray Wyatt and Dusty Rhodes were also trying to do as well, although they didn't use their real names, we really want to let the audience into our personal story so that that emotional attachment can enhance what it is that we're doing inside the ring, or sometimes in my case, outside of the ring. So to answer your question, Bray Wyatt, Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Heyman are my top three. In no
Okay.
particular order, of course.
No, absolutely. Those are fantastic names.
Thank
I do want to ask, you had mentioned using your real name, but you have the Sugar moniker. And I think that that's very telling, right? Because sugar is seldom the main element of something. It's what adds that little bit of extra flavor, that extra little bit of pizzazz. And I feel like there's probably a connection there. Can you tell me where the sugar originated from?
I'll give credit where it's due. I walked into Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling one day, training to become a pro wrestler and a pro wrestling manager. And my coach at the time, by the name of Drew Onyx, every class would say Sugar Shane. Now, Sugar Shane is obviously a title that's followed many of people. Sugar Shane Mosley, Sugar Shane Helms, when he was in WCW. For me, it was an immediate embodiment of who I am and who my character was. It can mean so many things. Can it mean the affluence because of, again, that extra spice, if you will? Could it be the arrogance? Could it be the, I don't know, maybe he talks so smoothly and so sweetly, and that's the reason why he does that. Well, I'd like to think it encompasses everything that I am, both inside, outside of the ring, both as a professional wrestler, manager, musician as well, all into one. I think if there's one word to describe me, it would be that one, and it would be sugar.
Okay, I had a feeling that was there because you know that there's just it's like that's your real name and your real personality, but we're just adding a little bit more that seems so sweet, but might also not be good for you in the long run if you cross it, how you misuse it. So anyway, sorry, you had mentioned, getting into training, but I want to just take a step back a little bit further. Was it right from the start or early at like the fandom that you had the idea in the back of your mind that, this is something more than just a pipe dream. This is something that I want to pursue for myself in the future.
I think that journey is ever growing and everlasting. I've been fortunate in the past 3, 4 years that I've been doing this to encounter a lot of obstacles that challenge my mindset and my approach to the business. So I think the more I stay open to things in this business, the more motivated I am. The more loose I approach this, the more I have fun with it. You know what I mean? So I would say it's interesting to be able to navigate all sides of this business
Mhm.
and have an open mind to all sides of this business. Because let's be real here. I had my first wrestling match against Matthew St. Jacques on December 26th
Wow.
that just passed.
Wow.
Now, theoretically, the manager shouldn't be wrestling unless it's for a spot or unless it's like a gimmick or at least it's there's so many caveats to this. But I went in with the openness of, well, what if Sugar Shane Pinto walked into that room, walked into that venue, walked into that match as a wrestler? Why? Because that's who Shane the kid wanted to be when he was 5 years old looking at Batista, when he was 8 years old on the computer looking at Kane and The Undertaker, when he was 15 years old going through puberty and teenage hormones and all that fun stuff and looking at Bray Wyatt. There was an openness to try. There was an acceptance that if failure is the conclusion of what this is, at least I tried it. And now I'm I'm gonna selfishly bring this out. But I'm reaping the spoils and reaping the benefit of my labor, to which I can attribute immensely to the fact that I was just open to trying things and open to failing.
Okay, so let's explore that paradigm shift because growing up, everybody dreams of being the wrestler. And then you started off by going into being a wrestling manager, but that's not necessarily the initial intention. So talk to me about kind of like that ebb and flow, wanting to be a wrestler, going on a journey to become a manager, and then coming full circle and doing the wrestling again. Can you take me through kind of like the trigger event that got you into the manager, like the managerial side, and then kind of the process through that?
I'm a natural storyteller, whether that be at family functions, with friends. I admittedly love to hear the sound of my own voice. I will definitely say that. But the truth is, it's the way I connect with people. Being a manager, that is entirely what it is that we do. We use our voice to dictate a specific narrative. I've been told that my role and me in said role, I drive the car to the destination. Whatever the destination may be, that's not created by me, but I'm taking you there and I'm taking you to that point. Managing seemed like the most natural progression to do so. Fast forward December 26th, that openness, again, that's the word I'll use. How else can I tell this story that me and him have? We've done everything that there is to do. We've used our words. He threw cake in my face. He gave me a pile driver. I was in a wheelchair. We did the whole kit and the caboodle. It was hilarious, right? But how do we further the narrative that we're trying to tell? Let's do it physically. So the more I think about it, whether it be managing, whether it be actually getting involved in the ring, whether it be my roles on commentary, ring announcing, backstage, whatever the case may be, the overall goal is to make sure that we leave the audience with something palatable, something that they can be emotionally invested to, so that it's their benefit at the end of the day. So that progression just seemed like the most natural one. And that who's to say that I don't wrestle? If I wrestle again, great. That'd be awesome. I definitely won't say no to the opportunity. I'm never going to stop managing. That's what I love to do. I'm never going to stop telling stories. But that's the reality of the situation. I'm never going to stop telling stories, whether that be managing or whatever the role may be.
So, talk to me a little bit about the amount of training that you do in ring, because you are a manager. There is, of course, examples of people who they're not trained in the ring. They just stick to the managerial duties because they don't need to have that physical component. And I have to imagine getting into the ring, especially with a competitor like that. there's going to be a level of actual physical wrestling training. Like, tell me, how much do you dedicate to that when you are still focused on so many other hats that you're wearing?
There's so many ways to train. I'll say I'm definitely in the gym 4 times a week, prepping my body so that I could portray myself with the vision that I have of myself, right? Same thing goes to going to wrestling training. I'm going 2, 3 times a week. I'm taking the bumps, I'm learning the moves, I'm hitting the ropes, I'm making sure I'm grinding in that regard because, in my opinion, that's how you pay respect to those who came before you, the Dusty Rhodes, the Bray Wyatts, the Paul Heymans of the world. They all did the same thing. So, in my opinion, to put respect and homage on their name, that's how I would do it. Same thing goes with being in the managerial role, which a lot of people may not expect, but it's you're learning a lot about the structure of professional wrestling, listening in to Frankie the Mobster. You know what I mean? As he's telling you, well, this is what we're going to do in the match. This is how I'm envisioning it. This is the payoff, and this is how we're going to involve Sugar Shane. Wow. I just got a crash course on how to do our match in the 5 minutes that we've been together. But the more you open yourself up to those experiences, different matches, being on the road with my friends for 2, 3 hours, and literally all we talk about is the business, it's expanding the education just as much as I'm staying at home at work when I should be working, if I'm being honest with you, and I'm putting on a wrestling podcast or I'm putting on a wrestling match and I'm dissecting what it is that's going on because, truth be told, if I can make this my full-time job, I would do it. The reason being, it's because it's been my full-time life. So it's definitely an interesting process, and I like to involve myself in it every which way that I can.
Okay. I apologize for jumping back, but I do want to ask
Well,
about the actual trigger event,
yeah.
where you were at in life and like what kind of contributed to the idea to actually take that step and go into the training, whether it was in ring or for the manager, because it isn't necessarily something that people just wake up one morning and say, "Hey, this is a good Thursday to go train," right? Like, what was that final push that got you in the door?
I appreciate first and foremost the platform for being able to be candid. The truth is, December 26th, like I mentioned, it's an important day for many reasons. It was the day I got 5 years. I got sober. I celebrated 5 years on December 26th. Now, without talking too much about that part of my life, but it is a reality. I was struggling for a little bit. And then one morning rather, I woke up and I said that this is not me and this is not the life that I want to live. And I guess some sort of uh, destiny, if you will. It was an easy process, suffice to say. But a week later, to the day, I saw an online course for practice your promos at Torture Chamber Pro Wrestling. And this is COVID. No one had a job. I had all the free time in the world. I also had an extra couple $1,000s from Trudeau. Let's be real here. So I was like, let's maximize what it is that are at our disposal. So I look at my girlfriend and I'm like, you think? And she's like, if there's anyone who's going to do it, it's you. You make it work, which is a phrase that has been following me my entire life. So that was the shift. It was like hey, this is this is your sign. Give it a shot at least. First couple of classes, we were dissecting promos. And as he was asking for feedback and asking the class, why do you think this worked? My feedback seemed to be enough and I guess educated enough where it's like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Cool. Let's put it into practice now. I did my first promo. I sent it out, and he's like, you've never done this before? Have I spoken in front of a camera and cut my own promos and told my own stories? Of course I did. I've been talking and cutting promos since I've been 14 years old. You know what I mean? I'd pick up my fake wrestling belts and I'd cut a promo on John Cena and all these people because that's what we did. You know what I mean? I had wrestling figures and I made stories like that too. That's what we did. You know what I mean? So I never knew that I was quote unquote good at it, right? Until I got I guess, the approval. but more so the recognition to say, hey, you've been right about this the entire time. Please continue going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how it came about.
Okay. Before we move on, I do want to just take a second to appreciate the gravity of the statement. Congratulations on 5 years. That is very impressive. But let's move on to something with a little bit more levity.
Sure.
During the course of your career so far, you have experienced quite a bit. I know you've even gone to other provinces. I'm not sure how I know, but I know. But tell me a little bit about some of the highlights that you've had over your career. Some of the moments that you'll look back on one day with the most fondness from what you've done so far.
I mean, look, the Matthew St. Jacques match was a blast, but it wasn't my first time getting light tubes on my back, let's just say. So IWS on FN Sanction. The main event is Team GCW versus Team IWS. I am managing Team GCW, which is Effie and Jimmy Lloyd, against PCP Manny and Green Phantom. I've been having this long feud with PCP Manny and IWS because I am torn. I am, not getting my just desserts. I'm not getting what I deserve, and and all that fun stuff. I'm causing a little bit of a ruckus, suffice to say. To which we create a match. It's a death match, which is definitely a lot of fun, and everyone should totally stay away from because they suck. And match happens, finish of the match. I am completely upset because my team loses, and I face Effie, which is crazy. Jimmy Lloyd. I'm pushing Manny. I'm pushing Green Phantom in a sea of 1,000 people. Everyone's like, we know what's happening now. And for some reason, I didn't know. I was like, I think I'm going to go. I think this is going to end well for me, favorably. It did
Naturally.
not.
No.
Kick in the gut. They took off my white suit, my white shirt, my naked from the top up. Let's calm down, kids. Chest is exposed. I'm on all fours. I am deafened by the sound of 1,000 people ready to see me get these light tubes on my back. They're super ready, to which Manny takes it. He does it. Boom. And then that's the final closing shot. Sugar Shane finally got his just desserts. Oh my goodness. As I'm walking backstage, I'm lying. I'm crawling on glass and light tubes and things and doing my thing. I take my last look back. I kind of made my peace with the situation. Like, oh my God, this just happened. I get backstage and being consoled by 6'4", 245, 50 pounds, Frankie the Mobster is my mom with tears in her eyes as she's getting hugged by Frankie the Mobster. And I'm like, how did you even get here? Like, I didn't even know she was coming backstage. And then Frankie's like, it's okay. He's fine. He's okay. See, look at him. You're an idiot. And my mom gives me this big hug, and she's like, you're an idiot, but you did it. To me, the visual of Frankie, which is crazy, and my mom just like embracing and just being like, oh, I hope he's okay. Just that's my favorite story in wrestling thus far. It's crazy.
That's amazing. That's
So
amazing.
good. So good.
So moving forward, where would you like to see your career take you next? And I don't mean necessarily long term. Like, is there just any sort of bucket list items? Would you like to hit up a few more destinations? Is there anybody else that you'd like to work with? Um, I mean, manager or in ring, because I guess that door's open a little bit. But like,
Totally.
what would you like to cross off of the wrestling bucket list a little bit more immediately?
So you had said earlier that I've been in a couple of provinces outside of Quebec. I would still like to do so. Um, I guess it is part of the long-term plan, excuse me. But being the best in Canada at what I do is really something that motivates me. In order for me to do that, I need to go to the Ontario scene, which I'm doing a little bit more of, and I have opportunities to do this year. A little bit more east, further out west, maybe some more opportunities in the United States. I know this championship is going to afford me some opportunities to wrestle in the States in 2026, to which I'm eternally grateful for. What a huge honor. So just the more that Sugar Shane can be seen, the better. That with that in mind too. I'd like to get 1 million views on TikTok. That's the next. That's the 2026. We're gonna get 1 million views on TikTok. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's the goal. That's the other one.
Well, I am eager to experience that journey because I'm not going to rank managers or anything like that. But from ones that I have seen, you were definitely one of the more memorable ones. It stuck with me, and I carried something with that. So I appreciate that. Thank you. One thing I like to ask everybody before we're done is for a piece of advice. Usually it is more about the wrestling side, but I think that we have a unique opportunity here to get a bit of a different aspect from a different type of role in the industry. So if there was somebody out there who was maybe similar on the fence, not sure about in-ring competition, but dabbling in the idea of managerial duties, what piece of advice would you have liked to hear at the beginning of your journey that would have assisted you that might help them today?
Never give up and follow your own journey. Listen to yourself. That's something that I'm learning as I'm getting older, just as a man. Following your gut and listening to your heart is very hard to do. If we really think about it, it's not the easiest thing to fail. But if John Cena can learn about failure and still grasp at lessons and still ask for advice, and he's the greatest of all time, then so could you. Study from the greats. I think that's obviously a standard, but being able to pull from different mediums works to your advantage as well. Like I said, I'm a musician. My stage presence, quote unquote, comes from Freddie Mercury and Axl Rose and Jim Morrison and all these people. So if I can incorporate elements of these things into my character, I'll do so. I would say if there's a medium that you are intrigued by, video games, literature, books. I said literature, books and literature, same thing. Video games, literature, whatever the case may be, and you can pull from these elements, do so. Try things, throw things at the wall, but don't be afraid to fail.
That's amazing. So one of the most important questions that I have for you tonight is, can you please let the people know once again who you are and where they can follow you online?
Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sugar Shane Pinto, the hottest pro wrestling manager in the game today, and now your new unified death match champion. You can follow me on Instagram. Oh, my phone fell because I'm cutting a crazy promo. You can follow me on Instagram at Sugar Shane Pinto. You can find me on Facebook. Maybe I'll add you. There's going to be pictures of my family and my cats and my dogs in there. Maybe you'll want to see it. Maybe you won't. Give it a try. Maybe I'll add you. I'm not on anything else, but I am on TikTok. Like I said, we're going to get to that 1 million followers, or I mean, not 1 million followers, that'd be crazy, but that 1 million views. Oh my goodness, Sugar Shane Pinto everywhere. It's like God blessed me with the username. Find me. Goddamn. Follow me and let's make it happen.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
My honor, my absolute privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Independent Wrestling Profiles. Please help out the show if you can with a like, subscription, or review. We'll see you next time.
This program is a proud part of the Swear to Pod Network.